Yo, what up? It's your boy N.I.C. Yo, man, we got to start off today with the Jets, my football Jets. We got a lot we're going to get into. We're going to go around the NFL. We're going to talk Crawford versus Canelo. That happened last night. We're going to talk about the Mets finally getting a win behind a Pete Alonso walk-off three-run homer in the bottom of the 10th. Talk a little Knicks, too. Talk whatever, man. Depending on what the chat say. We would never know what we might get into, but the Jets, Jets get smoked today, 30-10 by the Buffalo Bills. Your boy Josh Allen continues to look like an MVP even when he has one of his more pedestrian performances. Josh Allen today was only 14 of 25, 148 yards. 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, only gets sacked once. You know that guy only got sacked 14 times all of last year. He does not get sacked often. And it seemed like today, besides the Jets just continuing to get in their own way, and the Jets just continuing to look like the team they've looked like for the last 14 years when they haven't been able to make the playoffs, Josh Allen, in having what statistically is a bad game, gets his nose bloodied, comes out. Trubisky comes in. Trubisky even comes in and it converts a third down against the Jets. The defense that is led by former cornerback Aaron Glenn and is supposed to be a better, I don't know, people were talking top 5 defense. Not that. In the first 2 games, we have definitely seen that they are not that. And after a week 1 where the Jets, even in losing, and I'm not one for moral victories, I was pissed at the end of that game because I thought we had it. I saw some of the most prepared and the most intense and fundamentally sound Jets football that I have seen in ages. And game 1, you lose to Aaron Rodgers. He celebrates as he walks off the field. Then he talks shit in the post game, which I don't blame him. I'm one of those people that I'm going to get on board, especially going into a season. But quite frankly, if you ask me, I would say that we should have brought Aaron Rodgers back. And you have a game that you're winning by 9 points in the fourth quarter, and you still lose. This sounds like a disaster, but like many Jet fans, I was able to come out of that game and say to myself, you know what? Hey, man, this is a new day. We on the way up. We got something going. Looks like Aaron Glenn's got these guys ready to play. Looks like Justin Fields is a legitimate quarterback and could be our quarterback of the future. The defense, hey, we got some things to figure out, and we will figure those things out. That's the way you felt coming out of week 1. All that shit's out the window. The week 2 performance by the New York Jets was putrid. They had 0 discipline. And you know what? Let's stop right there with the 0 discipline, and let's talk about a Mr. Michael Clemens. A guy who I have been screaming. If you watch He Did This to Me, the show with me and my dad, the weekly podcast by 2 optimistic Knicks, Mets, and Jets fans, a father and son, nonetheless. If you watch that, you've seen me scream, cut Michael Clemens. Get him out of here. I can't deal with this guy. You know, he's Mr. All, he's all mirror team. Because the guy, pause, looks great without a shirt on. He shows up to camp with a bat with barbed wire on it. Yo, come on, man. How many times do we have to see Michael Clemens get into some sort of fight after the whistle or put a late hit on a quarterback before we realize that this guy has rocks for brains and will never learn and will always cost you. How many times we got to see it, yo? I'm so tired of this guy. The Jets are about to get a stop. It's third and forever. Josh Allen throws it to somebody underneath. We come up, we make the tackle. We're getting off the field. Let's go. Oh, wait. No. Michael Clemens decided to run his face mask into Josh Allen. He actually turns his head to the side. Josh Allen, before he even hits the ground, is like, pointing at his head. Josh Allen is just as bad, if not worse, than Patrick Mahomes. Everybody's always talking about how Patrick Mahomes is always screaming for the calls. Josh Allen is looking for calls more than anybody, and Josh Allen is a fucking tank. He's huge. So he almost never gets sacked. Like I said, 14 sacks all of last season, which is crazy. The next team had like 40 something. It's a crazy stat. The Jets were actually able to get to him and sack him once in this game. But Josh Allen, man, you cannot give this guy extra opportunities. And on the first drive by the Bills, we do exactly that. Michael Clemens, man, he should be cut tomorrow. And I'm not one for calling for people's jobs. I was okay, and I agreed with the cutting of Gibson because that play, and I know that Aaron Glenn says that there's a lot of things that lead up to it, but he was still your starting returner going into that game. He still was the returner after he made that very costly fumble in game one against Pittsburgh, and Gibson was gone on Monday. And I think there's a chance that Clemens is gone tomorrow, even though he continued to get snaps after that stupid roughing call. I don't care if you got your head to the side. You have to know that you just can't do that in today's NFL. And how this guy, when he has been the focal point of the Jets and their inability to control themselves and not get stupid penalties in the Robert Saleh era, he was the number one offender. I've been saying for a couple years now, get this guy out of here. He's not mentally, he doesn't understand what he can and can't do, or he can't control himself. Either way, you gotta go. But somehow, some way, new regime comes in. They continue to put him in, especially on passing downs. Actually, no, I think he plays against the run just as much as he plays against the pass. But you know what? He shouldn't be playing for the Jets anymore. Get him out of here, yo. It's just too costly of a penalty. And in the course of a football game, hey, we know that one penalty, one big play, more than any other sport, it can totally change the landscape of the game. If the Jets get off the field right there and maybe the offense is able to find a little bit of rhythm, who knows? But thinking of this offense finding any rhythm in today's game, it's kind of hard to even think that's even a possibility, because they looked horrible from the beginning. The rushing attack that dominated against Pittsburgh, today, they were not able to get off with the running game at all. It looked like the Bills were selling out against the run. We were being super predictable. They were bringing down an extra guy. They were bringing corners and safeties. Romo and Nance were talking about it on the broadcast. They're bringing all types of guys. Not Romo and Nance. Romo and Nance weren't on that game. They would never be on the Jets game. They were on one of the later games. Were they on the Jets game? Yeah, no, we did get Romo and Nance today. Okay. I watched a lot of football today. For a second, I was like, yo, did we get Romo and Nance? But we did. We did get Romo and Nance. And, I just thought that the Jets overall, they looked like the exact opposite of what you felt like after last week. The Jets and the Giants did a flip-flop this weekend. Because the Giants last week were the team that was like, damn, they haven't gotten any better. Shout out to my man, John. He hit me up. He was like, yo, at least if I'm a Jets fan, I feel like, maybe we've turned things around, but the Giants look like the same old Giants. Giants today, they lose in an absolute heartbreaker. Double overtime. In overtime. There's no double overtime in football. And they lose in an absolute heartbreaker. They get a last second kick at the end of regulation, the last second kick at the end of the game. But, their offense looks good. Russell Wilson, let Russ cook. He's throwing the moonball dimes to neighbors. They're looking like, okay, maybe we got a little something going on. Even though they lost. And that's how the Jets felt after week 1. Week 2, the Jets, it's like I could have swore that Solid, went and got him a Aaron Glenn suit. That looked like a solid team. I mean, well, maybe this is what Glenn teams look like. We saw 1 week Aaron Glenn, and everybody was talking about how he changed the culture and how the building was different and how, this whole training camp has been all about, well, they're more competitive now and, there's a lot more accountability. Same old motherfucking Jets. They looked horrible from the jump, and everybody who was talking about the Jets might have found a quarterback, they might have found their franchise quarterback. Before he was concussed, Justin Fields looked horrible. The running game was not there. And Justin Fields, when he was forced to drop back and pass, was 3 of 11 for 27 yards. He got sacked 2 times. He fumbled the ball twice. He lost 1 fumble, which basically, to me, signaled the end of the game. When he lost that fumble in the second quarter, deep in Jets territory, after the Bills offense had already shown that they were able to march down, and after the offense of the Jets had already shown that they couldn't do much, and now we get a new drive, and this cat gets tackled from behind by Bosa, and the ball's bouncing around on the ground, and it's Bills' ball, and they're about to go out and just, I think they went. They only kicked the field goal there to go up 10-0, I'm pretty sure. But Fields look horrible. Missing wide open receivers. Garrett Wilson, wide open, just missed him. A couple other balls across the middle, just high. And, Fields didn't look good at all. They show the stat. He's got the most fumbles in the NFL over the last few years. Clearly, he's a guy who scrambles a lot. He did have 1 very good scramble, 1 long run, 27-yard run. But, I mean, look at Breece Hall. 10 carries, 29 yards. Tyrod Taylor, he comes in later because Fields gets concussed, and now he's in the protocol, smacked his head onto the turf, and now who knows with him how long that's going to take. And all of a sudden, this Jets team, who after week 1, you thought to yourself, you know what, man? We might be able to do something. We might, forget, 8, 9, shit, fuck around and get 10 wins this year. We tighten up the defense a little bit with the offense looking like that. And this Bills team that gave up 40 last week to the Ravens, they hold the Jets to 10 points. And they hold really the Jets to 3 points. They get 7 points in garbage time. Shout to Rucker and his pops. His pops put up a post. He said, I know Jets fans, we're not happy right now, but he's a Long Island guy, and his son scored his first ever touchdown for the Jets, so he was hyped. I think that's great. I love that story in general. Yo, my chair. I've had this chair for a couple years. Had this chair for a couple years now. I paid a decent amount of money for it. 2020, I was working from home for a little while. I got my little home office desk set up, and I get this chair, and I can't figure out. I've tried everything to be able to make this chair stay in its position. It always scooches back down. So if you watch any of the other shows, me versus my chair is a bit of a theme, and it'll continue to be here in Independent Nick. But yeah, man, the Jets, it's just, this is the life that we have chosen, I guess. This life was chosen for me. It was passed down to me from my pops. And, it's like you get a week of a glimmer of hope. It's not even like I got to enjoy like a win last week. It's a week of a glimmer of hope. And then, you realize real quickly that, the Bills are absolutely positively the class of the division. I don't think that there was any, misgivings about that from Jets fans, but we typically play the Bills pretty well, even in the seasons where they're a much better team and they have been here, especially in recent memory. We still usually play them pretty well. And today, they just carved us up, man. You know, everybody talks about this more aggressive defense that Aaron Glenn is going to run, but it seemed like Josh Allen and their running game was able to pick that apart. But that's the thing when you look at this game. If you really take a look at the stats, you would say Josh Allen's 14 of 25. Yo, the Jets might have a chance. But then James Cook, 21 carries, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. He has a highlight run. He cuts it back a few times in the middle of the field and ends up scoring a touchdown. The Jets defense looked like it was just a step slow. The offense didn't look like they were able to scheme anything open or make anything easy. Both of these things, I mean, especially the offense, was just the exact opposite of what we saw last week. A lot of people would tell you that the Pittsburgh defense is better than the Buffalo defense. Yet we were able to confuse the Pittsburgh defense. We were able to line up and run directly at them and just absolutely destroy them with the running game. But this Buffalo defense, after 1 week of tape on the Jets, were like, okay, this is how we stop that. And we were never able to figure it out. We were never able to counter. Yeah, man, it was a tough one. It was a real tough one. It was a game that the Jets were clearly out of and just clearly outclassed from very early on. Aaron Glenn, all this talk about having guys be more, accountable and all this, and he did rip into Clemens after the bonehead penalty, but the Jets in general, man, just silly penalties. Silly penalties that extended drives for the Bills and cost the Jets the few big. It's hard to say they even cost us any big plays because did the Jets make any big plays? I mean, did they even have anything like really called back? I feel like I'm remembering one play being called back, but just it was one of those games, where it's just like, man, same old Jets. How is it that over this last 14 years, different regimes, Todd Bowles, Adam Gase, Robert Saleh, and now Aaron Glenn, and some of the same things continue to show up for this team. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I really don't. Obviously, neither does Woody Johnson because he would have figured it out by now. And neither does Aaron Glenn at the moment. But hopefully he figures it out. The Jets got to figure out a way to be able to stop the run. They stopped the run fairly well against Pittsburgh. But after what Cook did to us today, you best believe that these teams that we play are going to be trying to run the ball directly at us. And can we stop that? And then the secondary outside of Sauce is very, very, very shaky. Very shaky, man. We saw Stevens get picked on last game by Aaron Rodgers. And in today's game, you just saw whenever there was a time to make a play on, say, a third down, the Jets weren't able to. And when a team can run the ball on you like that, you're going to have a tough time. And that's exactly what the Jets had. Breece Hall wasn't able to get off and do anything. 10 carries, 29 yards. Come on, man. The offensive line, they get the big injury preseason with Elijah Vera Tucker. And then in this last game, you say, hey, man, we get Tittman out there. We're good to go. But unfortunately, the Jets are not good to go, and they quickly look like a team that is in for a long season. Now, they're playing the Bills, which is one of the better teams in the NFL. If they're not, most people would consider them one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the NFL. Most people would definitely consider them as one of the favorites to get to the AFC Championship. The thing that they haven't been able to do is get over that hump. I think that, them and the Ravens are the class of the AFC at the moment. And they were able to beat the Ravens last week. They were able to beat the Ravens last year in the playoffs. And so maybe the Jets, hey, Pittsburgh, they lose a tough one. They get absolutely waxed by the Bills. Does that mean that the season is over? It's not just the fact that they lost today. It's the way that they did. It's the self-inflicted wounds. It's the penalties. It's Justin Fields looking like he can't play quarterback. I mean, the amount of misses that he had today, I can think of like 4 off the top of my head. Just misses. Throwing the ball behind Garrett Wilson. Throwing the ball high, I think, to Ruckert. And then in the flat, who was it? I want to say it was... wasn't Brees. It was one of the backs. I think it was Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson out in the flat. And, as Tony Romo said, you just can't miss that. He catches that ball, and he's still running. He runs forever. But he comes out, Justin Fields, and he looks extremely inaccurate. He's holding on to the ball way too long, and he's got questionable, and not even questionable, just bad ball security. He looks like all of the things that we have seen from Justin Fields that has prevented him from becoming an elite quarterback, even though he was a high draft pick with lots of potential coming out of Ohio State. Week one, he tricked us, man. He tricked us. He showed us something week one that made you think like, yo, I heard so many people talking about the Jets may have found a quarterback. And this could be not just a guy who's a stopgap, but could be our franchise quarterback. Does any Jet fan feel like that after week 2? How quickly things can change in the NFL. And let's go around the NFL real quick. Very, very interesting day. You had a rematch of last year's Super Bowl, the Eagles versus the Chiefs. And the Eagles end up winning 20-17. The Eagles really were in control of this game for what seemed like a lot of it, though. Kansas City, man, they had the chance to go up. I'm pretty sure they're down 13-10. And your boy Mahomes is doing his thing. He throws a pass to Travis Kelce. Kelce's a little late getting his head around. Instead of catching it for a touchdown, he tips it. And now the ball is intercepted. The Eagles are going the other way. And after that, the Eagles had it pretty much under control. Kansas City scored late, but in the fourth quarter, it was a 2-score game for most of it, where, you felt like the Eagles were just basically a first down away. And, of course, with them, their short yardage ability with both Saquon and with the tush push with Jalen Hurts, and they're able to get that W. Chiefs, the weapons there, they get more injuries today to the receivers. Was it Hollywood that went down today? And then your boy Kelce, man. I mean, he had a couple big plays early on. He had a couple big plays. I saw him getting hyped, flexing, looking at the stands and whatnot. But he ends up having the biggest play of the game, and it's on the negative end because that ball hits him and gets popped up, and then they're running the other way. So that's Eagles KC, man. KC is now 0-2. They haven't been 0-2 in like 14 years or something like that. And it was last year that they missed the playoffs. So the Chiefs, they're I don't know, man. I think they'll be okay. I really do. I think the Chiefs are going to end up being okay. We just watched the Vikings get smacked by the Falcons. I mean, J.J. McCarthy. Everybody wants to talk about how good this dude is. You move on from Sam Darnold. J.J. McCarthy, look. Today, he had 2 picks. He's 11-21, 158 yards. And just in general, looked like he was a step slow as far as his processing mentally of what was going on. Taking some big sacks. Let's not anoint him just yet. And I like him. I follow Michigan football. I have my entire life. He was able to win a national championship there. Listen, J.J. McCarthy, he comes in, he gets injured. Everybody's talking about, oh, it was so great. He got to sit back for a year and watch. They move on from Sam Darnold, who had a very good season for them. He ends up in Seattle. I don't know if we're ready to anoint this kid just yet. He did not look very good tonight, and there's definitely going to be some growing pains in this Vikings team that, many people, after winning 12 games last year, felt like this team is, another team that can really contend in the loaded NFC. You take a step back, and it's like, they beat the Bears last week, who got smacked by Detroit. You knew Detroit was going to come back after that, embarrassing loss in week 1 against Green Bay. And they especially, against his, your boy Man Campbell against his old coach. He said, nah, man, let me show you what time it is right now. And their offense was the one that looked like it was a well-oiled machine. St. Brown had multiple touchdowns. They get a big win. The NFC North is the NFC North is definitely going to be an interesting division and seeing how that plays out. And man, at the end of the day, I'm just saying with J.J. McCarthy, man, don't anoint this guy just yet. Not yet. He's not yet. We got to see a little bit more. Cardinals beat the Panthers. Panthers made that interesting at the end. The Cardinals were my pick in my survivor pool this week, and I was like, chill. Like, what are they doing? The Cardinals tried to do everything they could to give that game away. At one point, they had so many penalties in that last drive, trying their best to let the Panthers get back in it, but they were able at the end to hold it down. I'm pretty sure it was Calais Campbell who got the sack that finished off the game. There were so many times that it seemed like the game was finished off, and then there was a penalty. It's hard to keep it straight. The Colts. What's the Colts kicker's name? What is the Colts kicker's name? Because, this dude got the ultimate mulligan. Ultimate mulligan. It's the Broncos kicker. I don't know no kicker's name except for the Jets kicker. Spencer Schrader. This dude, he gets a makeable kick in today's NFL. We see guys smack 60, 70 yarders all the time. And Schrader gets a chance to end the game, and he misses. But they make contact with the center, the Broncos do. So he gets a second kick, and on his second chance, he makes good, and the Colts win the game. I mean, I really thought that I thought the Colts were going to win. I thought they actually were going to win a little bit more handedly, but I did take a money line, so, we're happy about that. We like that part. But the Colts, man, coming out 2-0, your boy Danny Dimes, Jonathan Taylor, 25 carries, 165 yards. He continues to be a beast. I mean, he might be the best running back in the NFL over the last, 3-4 years. Saquon. Gotta say Saquon, right? But Jonathan Taylor consistently, I know he's had a year where he got hurt, but consistently has been that dude. He also has 2 catches for 50 yards in addition to the damage he did on the ground. A touchdown catch as well. Shout out to Jonathan Taylor, man. He's doing his thing. And the Colts being 2-0, I don't think a lot of people had them going 2-0 to start the season. Let's put it that way. And they made Miami look horrible, and Miami hung in there today against New England. What else we got? What else happened in the NFL today? Giants, Cowboys, man. Russell Wilson. Everybody hating on Russ. I always think that Russ gets a little bit more hate than he deserves. Just, people calling him corny and this and that. Like, What? He gotta be somebody you could kick it with? Nah, I don't care about that so much, man. There's some dudes I look at and it's like, yo, I can see myself kicking with him. Other dudes I look at, I'm like, nah, I couldn't see it with him. I don't know, man. You never know what Russ is like behind, closed doors. At the end of the day, he's doing okay for himself in life. In all the aspects of life that I know about him and that I can see, he's doing okay. Okay? So I think sometimes he gets a little bit too much hate. And, I think he's an all-time great quarterback. He should have 2 Super Bowls, if not for a terrible call by Pete Carroll. And he has, in his post-Seahawks life, where he tries to go to these different teams, you got to understand, Brady and Peyton Manning, those cats went to good teams with good offensive lines, or at least decent offensive lines. Yo, you look at Aaron Rodgers, things are going a little bit better here for him in, Pittsburgh. The offensive line is a little bit better. The Jets' offensive line was putrid when Aaron Rodgers was here. You look at Russ in his stops, Pittsburgh offensive line was okay. I guess what? That's the same offensive line. We're going to see how Aaron Rodgers got sacked 4 times in the first week. I don't know how the offensive line did for him this week. But Russ, man, it looks like he's always under siege, especially with that Giants offensive line. Today, he ends up having an all-time high in yards, 450 yards, 30 for 41, 3 touchdowns. But that one interception in overtime where he tries to throw the ball up to Neighbors. He throws it way too far. The defender is right there. Neighbors did everything he could to try to play D-back on that play and try to knock the ball out of his hands, but he wasn't able to, and they were able to take the ball and take it back down the field, and they were able to get that last field goal. Were the Dallas Cowboys, and they were able to win the game 40-37. That was a great game. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I turned off the Jets game. It's 30-3. I had enough. There was too many other things on. Football. Kind of wanted to see what was going on with the Liberty a little bit. They're in the playoffs. A little bit. I watched a little bit. But, I switched over. I wanted to watch the end of the Giants game. It was overtime. It was close. I wanted to see the end of that, Colts-Broncos game. Y'all had the split screen going. Hey, YouTube TV, y'all do a great job of listening to the consumer. Just like, at least there's a few things since it started out where they just say, you know what? All right, let's switch it. That's what I love. When you got that, this ain't that old legacy bullshit. You got to get a whole new box to get new features. Nah, they just go in, change up the software, pop, 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 pop. And now we can make our own multi-view. I can put in the different ones that I want to see. I want to see these 2 games, bang, bang. Let's go. I want to see these 4 games, bang, 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 bang. Let's go. I love that about YouTube TV, man. It used to be the guide when you would go, if you were watching a show and you wanted to go into the guide, it would go all the way back to the beginning of the first show, like show number 2, like, channel 2, but it's whatever's first, and make you scroll all the way through. I used to hate that. Then all of a sudden they figured it out where you go back, when you go into the guide, it goes to where you're at and you can go up and down from there. They figured that shit out, man. The chairman. I can't. But yeah, man, I had to get away from the Jets game, yo. I had enough today dealing with the Jets and their bullshit. And it's only the second game of the season. I got a lot more bullshit to sit through. And today I was like, you know what? There's other more compelling games right now. I'm turning the Jets off, and I rarely do that. Yo, shout out to everybody checking us out right now. I don't know what platform you're on. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, if you're on X, if you're on Instagram Live, please comment. Holla at me. What did you think about today's football? Who is your team? Who are you rooting for? I was actually rooting for the Cardinals today, which I never do, but I needed to see them win so I could stay in the survivor pool. My survivor pool, I've been running the same survivor pool since I was, for mad long, yo. And last week was the first time that everybody got through week 1. I've never seen it before. Never. This week, we had some Broncos people. They're out of here. We had some other people who got bounced as well. But yeah, man, this Jets team is an absolute disappointment. The NFL had some compelling game. Joe Burrow with the toe. He might be out for a while, they say. Could be out for. They're saying a couple weeks. They're saying a couple months maybe. Not a couple weeks, a couple months. If that's the case, man, and once again, their offense was not looking very good, the Cincinnati Bengals. They just skated by last week against the Browns, and they needed the Browns to miss some field goals to be able to even make that happen. Because I had the Bengals last week in the pool, so I was paying attention to that game. They almost lost. They won by 1 point, 17-16, some shit like that. But yeah, Jake Browning had to come in 21-32, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he had 3 interceptions. Has some big plays down the stretch. Jamar Chase, after a very pedestrian week 1, he comes back with 14 catches, 165, and a tutty. Jamar Chase is undoubtedly one of the better receivers in the NFL. I don't even think that is something. No one can argue against that. But I mean, when he puts up those type of numbers with the backup quarterback, it's like, damn. And Joe Burrow, they say, has some ligament damage, some turf toe. Can he play through it? Does he have to get surgery? It's not looking good for Cincinnati. That defense continues to be, mediocre at best. Some would say bad. Some would say putrid. Trevor Lawrence, 24-42, 271, 3 touchdowns with the 2 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence was one of the most hyped prospects ever. I wanted the Jets to get him so bad. And the Jets end up getting the second pick and getting Zach Wilson. We know how that went. But Trevor Lawrence, he hasn't lived up to the hype, man. I like Trevor Lawrence. I think that, right situation. He had the whole Urban Meyer debacle, which, come on, man. You can't give the guy Urban Meyer in the pros, bro. That was an absolute disaster. So, I don't know, man. I think Trevor Lawrence in the right situation, but as my man Greeny always says, Mike Greenberg over on ESPN, he always says, more quarterbacks are ruined than are made. And it's true. Where you come out, where you go, there's so many guys over the years that have all the talent. You give them a bunch of different offensive coordinators, and you give them the wrong weapons, and you don't put a line, you don't give them a running game, and in a few years, they're moving on. And some of them, you got your Baker Mayfields, your Sam Darnolds, your Genos. What do 2 of those have in common? They started with the Jets. But you get these guys, and some of them, hey, they end up finding a way. They end up figuring it out. And they just either get rushed at the beginning or they get put in bullshit organizations and they're never able to recover from that. You see that happen all the time. Ravens look good. Smack the Browns, 41-17. I didn't see much of that game. Damn, Lions, I didn't know they quite put up 52 on the Bears. Jesus. Yeah. Patriots, like I said, they beat the Dolphins. Rams beat the Titans. Cam Ward had a throw. The throw that you tell guys all the time not to do. Across your body. Across the field. And he chucks that thing and makes an absolute perfect throw for a touchdown. His arm talent, his overall moxie. Everybody says that, he's got the right personality. I think Cam Ward is going to be a great quarterback in this league. If the Titans do the right thing by him and put the things around him and give him the continuity that he needs, I think he's got a chance. Mac Jones, good game against the Saints. 49ers, that team that seems like they can plug and play just about anybody in the quarterback or the running back position, and they can, figure out a way to put out a decent product on the field and are in games. Mac Jones, 26-39, 279, and 3 touchdowns. Looking good. So yeah, man, interesting day in the NFL. And then tomorrow we get two games. I don't love the Monday night doubleheaders. I don't love it. At least this time they're broken up where they're not running at the same time. They've done that in the past. But you got Bucks Texans. Yeah, what happened? The Texans were like the darlings. CJ Stroud was like the darling. Yo, the young quarterback was coming up, one of the best rookie seasons ever. And now nobody thinks the Texans are doing anything. CJ Stroud, anybody tell me your top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL? Nobody's putting CJ Stroud in the top 10. His rookie season, everybody had him in the top 10. It just goes to show you how quickly things can change in this league. And then you got Chargers, Raiders. Raiders, they got old man Pete Carroll. He done come back. He got a win in week one. Chargers get an impressive win against the Chiefs in week one. You know, Jim Harbaugh never loses in week one, but Matthew Stafford, he's doing his thing. You know, Harbaugh's talking his shit. Coming for Ryan Clark. Listen, man. I think the Chargers might be one of those surprise teams, and really not that much of a surprise. But I think they could end up being one of those teams that when we're, getting to the end of the season, they're one of those top seeds in the AFC. I could see that for sure. Faux show. Yeah, man. Jets are a disaster. Jets, next week they play the Bucks. And hey, the Bucks are a decent team. Bucks are 1-0 right now. Got a chance to be 2-0 if they can beat the Texans tomorrow. And the Jets play in Tampa Bay. And after these first 2 weeks, we have absolutely no idea what we are going to see, what to expect from these Jets. But hey, man, we will find out next week. Moving on. Had enough. Canelo versus Crawford. Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Bud Crawford last night on Netflix. And first and foremost, Netflix, they figured out the live stuff. They've gotten it right. No hiccups. Crystal clear. I was good with that. I thought that the commentary team, Andre Ward and Max Kellerman and dude from the UFC. Fuck, why am I forgetting his name? But I thought everything was good. Yeah, Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. John Anik. There we go. John Anik, Max Kellerman, and Andre Ward. There we go. Yeah, John Anik is excellent. I mean, come on. When it comes to the UFC, nobody does it as well as he does. Nobody ever has as far as the play-by-play. And then, I'm glad to hear, just glad to see Max Kellerman being back out there. Whatever happened with him and ESPN and the fact that, Stephen A got rid of him, I know he was getting paid pretty well to just basically not have a job. And, but he kind of just fell off the map for a while. But Max Kellerman needs to be doing boxing. He's a great boxing commentator. I thought he did a great job. And Andre Ward, he's fantastic. There's a lot of former fighters who go into doing some sort of commentary, and none of them have done it better than Andre Ward. There's some that have done it. There's some that have done it well. I'm having a hard time feeling like I know of anybody who've done it as well as Andre Ward. He's great. And there was some good prelims. Yo, that one fight with the African dude and BB. What was that? That was his name, and BB. Yeah, and Billy or some shit. What was his name? Let me find out. Chat, what was his name? Help me out. But that fight was an absolute war. And there was, typically that's the thing. When you watch boxing, you don't know any of the people that are fighting in the undercard. And it's just like overall, it's very weighted towards, let's see these big two names, and quite often that fight doesn't even live up. And for years in boxing, we never actually got to see the biggest fighters in their primes, or at least close to it, fight each other. it seems like there's a new day in boxing now. Now we got that Saudi money, that Qatar money coming in. You always see you always see some sort of sheik sitting in the first row. And hey man, when that type of money comes in, when guys like Dana White start getting involved, because we know when it comes to the UFC, the best of the best fight the best of the best. There ain't no ducking no fights. Ain't no keeping some guy undefeated and trying to, no, no, no. That don't work there. And in boxing, maybe we're seeing a new day and a new age. And we can get back to, the great times of the fight game of the sweet science. The undercard that I was talking about was Christian Mbili versus Lester Martinez. Mbili, I think he's from Cameroon. Lester Martinez, Mexican dude. Yesterday was Mexican Independence Day, so we had quite a few Mexican fighters on the bill. Of course, obviously Canelo. It's like a national holiday whenever he fights. I'm pretty sure he fights Mexican Independence Day every single year. It feels like. Go ahead and just go ahead and chalk that up that your boy Canelo's going to be fighting. And Billy versus Martinez, if there's ever been a draw, that was a draw. It ends up being a split draw, and that fight was just two dudes slugging it out. Amazing chins, amazing stamina, very, very, very fight. It was a very good fight. It was an absolute war. But then the main event, Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez, what we saw was Terrence Crawford really shocked the world, the boxing world, because everybody, the vast majority of people I saw talked about the fact that Canelo was just going to be too big. That Canelo was going to have too much power for Crawford, who is coming up in weight and now looking to be the undisputed champion in a fourth weight class. Going up against a Canelo Alvarez who they said was in some of the best shape that he's ever been in, that he came in hungry. Yo, Crawford outclassed him from the very beginning. I scored the fight. I had Canelo winning 2 rounds. 2 out of the 12. I thought that every time that he was able to land a big shot, he never once put Crawford back on his heels. I thought that Crawford counterpunched just beautifully. And Crawford was the more active fighter and was the one that was bringing it to him. Hey, listen, man. Excuse me. Yo, I'm sorry, but I don't know what these refs were seeing. Look, you gotta beat the champ. And that's what I loved about Crawford, why he came out in those last 2 rounds, even though he was up on everybody except for the 2 judges that were sitting, ringside, that had the fight even going into the 11th and the 12th. Those are the 2 that ended up scoring the fight 115 to 113. I thought that Canelo maybe won 2 rounds. I thought Crawford was the more active fighter. I thought he was landing the more significant shots. He was the one landing shots that were making Canelo step back. He was the one, that iconic shot to the left that we saw where, Canelo was turning his head, but still catches it clean and the sweat is coming off. That's the biggest photo that I've seen of this fight since it went down. And Bud Crawford now, he's the best fighter of this era. And he is, you got to start talking about him, one of the greatest fighters of all time. To do what he's done, to be able to go up in weight as he has and continue to get better, to get stronger, and to take out the best of the best at whatever weight class he goes to. Come on, man. It's not too many guys who can do that. And I thought that he was totally in control. He was doing that thing where he was smiling and laughing at Canelo, which typically when you see a guy get hit hard and he does that smiling shit, I'm like, my pops always says that, oh, he's actually really hurt. Nah, not Bud. If you watch Bud, because Bud will also give you some props and say, okay, that one actually was a good shot. But Canelo wasn't hurting him, man. He didn't hurt him once. Once you saw that he could deal with that power, and once you saw that he could stop Canelo in his tracks and make him take a step back with his power, It's like, yo, as long as he don't get too cocky and get caught, he gonna win this fight. And that's exactly what he did. He absolutely outclassed, outboxed, outworked, and he outpower punched Canelo Alvarez. Nobody had that. Nobody thought that he was going to be the guy who looked like he was doing more damage with his shots. Canelo was loading up, trying to catch him with big ones, and he caught Bud a couple times, but he didn't catch him often. And Bud was standing in there, and he was making Canelo pay, hitting him with combinations every single time that Canelo was coming in and was throwing, that big punch. He was catching 2 or 3 on the way out, and they were not just like 2 or 3, just like pat. He was really making sure that he was making them count. The counter punching, and then there was times where Bud was just bringing it to Canelo, and he was just too quick. The movement was fantastic. Obviously, he's in fantastic shape, and it was a masterclass. It was a masterclass by Bud Crawford. It was a very entertaining fight. You don't always get entertaining fights when you get to the main event in boxing. But these guys were out there. They weren't. There was very. I mean, how many times did they get? The ref have to come in and go ahead and separate them. How many times did that happen in the fight? It was a good fight, man. It was a good fight. And Bud, hats off to you, brother. You one of the greatest of all time. It was a legacy fight. It was him really showing the world that he is the best fighter of this era. He is. It's not Canelo, clearly. And Canelo was about as gracious as you can be in a loss. Canelo kind of looked like a guy to meet us, like about done, just as far as the way he was just so at peace with the loss afterwards, and just like, hey, I think he got 150 million. Bud only got 50. He's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do a rematch. Whatever. And, he's giving Bud mad props. He's doing his thing. Yo, Canelo's chin is crazy. Because even though he stepped him back, it's not like Canelo was ever like wobbled or anything like that. Neither guy was. They both have excellent chins. But Canelo, see, the thing about Canelo is this. Canelo is Mexican, and he got red hair. So there's a good chance that he's got a little Irish in him too. A lot of people don't know that the Irish people, I'm pretty sure it was during the potato famine, there was a big influx of Irish people who actually came over and settled up and set up shop in Mexico. That's why you see a lot of these ginger Mexicans. So if Canelo got Mexican roots and Irish roots, that means his chin is made of absolute granite and stone. They are historically in the fight game. People from those descents can just they're out there and they can just fight and they can take a shot and they're out there and just great chins and they'll never stop fighting. They'll never stop throwing punches. And Canelo's chin, I mean, the guy, how many times has Canelo been rocked in his career? I can't remember. You definitely don't need 2 hands to count it. So shout out to Canelo, man. It was a good showing by him, but Crawford's the better fighter. Crawford is the better fighter. The only question was, would he be able to deal with the size and with the punching power of Canelo? And he showed, he showed very, very clearly that he was able to do exactly that, and he was able to deliver some punishment himself. And he's the better boxer. And from the very beginning of the fight, everybody's like, oh, Canelo's so much bigger. Okay, now we've seen these guys. There's no rehydration clause. They're in the ring. And when I'm looking at them next to each other in the ring, I'm like, Canelo's not that much bigger than him. It's not like he's towering over him, height-wise for sure. We know that. And then size-wise, I'm like, that just, he's not that much bigger than him. Bud looked big. He looked strong. He looked fast. He was too quick for Canelo. And he was just the superior boxer, man. He was, he was in the southpaw. And he was able to avoid the big shots for the most part, and he was able to deliver. And the counter punching was fantastic. Let's talk about a little bit of Mets, my New York Mets, man. We were finally able to get a win today. You had McClain on the mound. He was doing his thing. We're playing against Texas. The Mets are losers of 8 straight. They go up 2-0. Of course, Reed Garrett comes in and he gives up the 2 runs. And now we find ourselves in the bottom of the 9th, unable to score. Game gets into extras. In the 10th inning, Ryan Stanek, who has had a very down season after, being a deadline pickup and being great for the Mets last year. Ryan Stanek has not had a good season for the Mets. They continue to try to figure it out with him. I feel like him and Helsley are the two guys that Mendoza keeps just being like, yo, man, we got to throw them out there and hope that they can get it right. We got to hope they figure it out. And Stanek gets himself in a little bit of trouble, but he's able to, in the top of the 10th, get out of it without giving up a run. With the runner starting on second, he's able to get out of it with a double play ball that is hit to Lindor. He steps on second, doubles up the man on second, line drive. We're out of there. Stanek, comes out of there. Mr. Rock on. He's all excited getting out of there. The crowd is hyped up. We come out. Bottom of the 10th. Pete Alonso comes up. 2 men on. And Alonso goes yard. Opposite way. Walk off. 3-run home run. Mets win 5-2. They snap the 8-game win streak. They're able to get back up to 1 game ahead in the wild card for that third wild card spot. Got 12 games to play, man. If you've been a Met fan for a long time, you've seen the Mets be up by 7 games with 14 to play and lose back in 2007 to the Phillies and allow them to hawk them down for the NL East and end up not making the playoffs. This is before the wild card. We've seen that from these Metsies, man. We've seen that before. And now the Mets, they control their own destiny. They have a chance to get into the playoffs. And once they get into the playoffs, anything can happen. Listen, the Mets have been one of the most up and down teams. They were one of the best teams in the MLB within the first couple months. 20 games over 500. Since then, we've been absolutely terrible. We've been like the fourth worst team in baseball these last few months. And hey, man, baseball is one of those seasons, up and down. You get hot at the right time. They were able to get off the schneid today. I got to keep it a buck when it comes to my guy Stearns. I love David. I love Stearns. I think that we have a young, bright baseball mind who was able to build up Milwaukee into being a perennially good team, even though they didn't have the type of resources that we now have with Uncle Stevie Cohen as our owner and as a huge fan of the Mets. But Stearns hasn't had a good year. From not addressing the starting pitching and addressing it with names like Frankie Montas, bringing back Manaya, but not Quintana. And the deadline moves have just been all bad. Cedric Mullins is a bum. He did end up getting a hit today late in the game, but he's a bum. He's been horrible. And Helsley, horrible. You don't get Bader. Instead, you get Cedric Mullins. Bader goes to Philly and just starts raking and hits like 400 against the Mets. Destroys us. Hasn't been a good year for our guy Stearns, and it has not been a good year for the Mets. We come in with a ton of expectations. We add Juan Soto, who, though he struggled early, has been fantastic in the second half, really. Definitely these last few months, and ends up, having a 40-30 season and being top, I think, 3 in the National League in walks, ribbies, and runs. So Juan Soto ends up having a Juan Soto season, even if it is somewhat of a down year for him in certain categories. Overall, he's having a very good season. Pete Alonso, he's got 120? How many RBIs does Pete Alonso have? I think he's got at least 115, 120, something like that. Where are we at? Pete Alonso, ribeye steaks, 117, 34 home runs. He's got an 852 OPS. Juan Soto's got a 921 OPS. Lindor having a somewhat down year offensively and defensively, to be quite frank. But really, this team, man, it's been the pitching. At the very beginning of the season, the starting pitching was much better than we thought it would be. Recently, the starting pitching, the bullpen, and just the overall situational and timeliness of the pitching has been horrible. A lot of the times last year when Carlos Mendoza was making all the right moves, this year hasn't gone that way. But hey, end of the day, look, hopefully the Mets can figure out a way to get hot right now. Right now. It's going to happen right now. Cincinnati, the Giants, they're breathing down our neck. One game back. The Giants have been one of the hottest teams in baseball. Hopefully it's time for them to get, a little bit back to earth and fall off a little bit. But when it comes to when it comes to this baseball season, there's always going to be peaks and valleys. There's always going to be ups and downs. And the only thing that you can hope is that the Mets just had a valley and we're going to get a peak and it's going to ride us straight through the end of October. That's all you can hope for. A lot of people want to give Mendoza a hard time. There's so many people on, X that I see that talk about got to get rid of Mendoza, get this guy out of here. They want to talk about all of, his decisions that he's made that haven't gone the Mets' way. And quite frankly, man, there has been a lot of times that I've questioned his decisions this year. But last year, he rolled all 7s and 11s. This year, you knew he was going to roll some snake eyes. Can y'all hear my dog snoring right now? Ox, come here. Come here. Ox, come. My dog comes in. He sleeps under my bed every single night. He's a 110-pound bulldog. He sleeps underneath there. He snores. He farts. Farts sometimes are absolutely brutal. But I mean, if I make this dog sleep anywhere let him sleep anywhere other than right underneath me in the bed, he goes crazy. Ox, come. Come here, boy. Come here. Come here. He's being shy. So, at the end of the day, man, look, I don't know what's going to end up happening with these Mets. It would be a real big disappointment if we didn't make it to the playoffs. We got to make it to the playoffs, for sure. That has to happen. You got to make the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs, then the season is a disappointment, in my opinion, for sure. And everybody's opinion. It should be a huge disappointment with the expectations that we came in. We add Juan Soto. He picks us over the Yankees, but we didn't do enough to address the starting lineup. And, there's no way you could see Helsley end up working out the way he did. I mean, that's just the guy's been one of the better back end of the rotation back end of the game relievers for years, and he's been horrible. He's been horrible since he's become a Met. So hopefully the Mets can figure out a way to get hot and we can figure out a way to get it done. But it was nice to get off the schneid today. It was nice for Pete to get that big hit, drive the ball the opposite way, which we know he does so well. And, the Mets get a W. The Mets get to feel good ending a series. They had just lost 8 straight. But, hey, they get this one win, and you never know what can happen with baseball from one day to the next, from one year to the next, from one series to the next. It can all change. There's no other sport that is as unpredictable as baseball, and there's no other sport where the overall momentum of a run, both good or bad, can either elevate or completely and totally sink your season. So hey, here's hopefully the Mets. We went through our tough times, and now it's time for one of those upswings. And let's see if we can ride it all the way through the end of October. But I will tell you, man, pitching-wise, it's going to be tough. You got McClain, and then you got Peterson. And then after that, you're not confident in anybody. Confident with anybody. You can't have this guy, Jonah Tong. You can't be confident in him in the playoffs. You have Manaea, who has been up and down. You have Clay Holmes, who, I was hoping that we'd be able to push him into like a Peterson role from last year, where he can be like a long / situational guy for the bullpen. I don't know, man. I don't know. Mendoza's going to have to pull all the right strings. He's going to need some luck when it comes to this rotation, if the Mets get into the postseason. Once you get in, it's going to be a wild card spot, 3-game series. Anything can happen. Man. We'll see. What else we got? Knicks basketball is almost here. Knicks start early. because they are going to be playing in Abu Dhabi against, it's the Sixers, right? Yeah, against the Sixers. October 2nd, 9 a.m. Oh, because it's in Abu Dhabi. What day of the week is October 2nd? 9 a.m. Come on, man. Your boy's going to be at work. I'm trying to watch the Knicks game. I'm still watching. I mean, we're going to put it on the phone. We're going to figure out a way to do something. But yeah, the Knicks open up their season, man, and this is the most anticipated and the highest expectations for a Knicks team since I can remember. Yeah, that's a Thursday. Yom Kippur. And so, yeah, man, this Knicks team, they got a lot of expectations. They have a team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They lose to the Pacers. That game one loss where they let the Pacers come back, where Halliburton shoots that ball that goes off the heel, goes straight up and falls down, which if you've watched and played basketball throughout your life, you know that that is so unlikely and almost never happens. But the Knicks, they come into this season. They have added Yabusele. They've added Jordan Clarkson. They got Shamit, Brogdon, and Garrison Matthews all on unguaranteed camp invite contracts, all basically fighting for a play for a spot on the roster. The Knicks got people coming to them to fight for spots to possibly get to a team that they like. Dudes who are ring chasing are coming to the Knicks now. Is that what's happening? Clarkson taking a minimum deal, Yabusele taking a deal lower than he possibly or could have, or that he could have gotten. They say there was other teams in the mix that were willing to offer him more. Yabusele, the Garden gonna love this dude. This dude plays with energy. He blocks shots. He hits threes. He's out there yelling in French at the national team, getting them hyped up. Yo, the Garden is gonna love this team. Him and Clarkson are exactly what the Knicks were missing. That energy off the bench and somebody who could come in and create a shot and could get a bucket. And that's exactly what Jordan Clarkson is. I've been begging the Knicks to get Jordan Clarkson or Brogdon at the deadline at different times in the last 4 or 5 years, so many times, and both of them. We know that Clarkson's going to be in the team. Brogdon might be on the squad too. Yo, man, the Knicks, hey, man, a lot of expectations. As we know, we need luck. We need injury, luck. We need health. But I'm telling you, Bridges is going to be a lot better in his second year with just a second year of comfort and with a coach who I think is going to utilize him and is going to put him in position to be able to excel and accentuate his strengths. We're going to have a much bigger rotation because our bench is better, but we're also going to have a much bigger rotation just because Mike Brown is going to play more guys than Tibbs did. Let's not pile on Tibbs. I like Tibbs. I'm a Tibbs guy. It was time to move on, and I'm excited to see what Mike Brown's going to be able to do with this team and with this roster. I'm excited to see what Cat is going to look like, understanding what this team needs for him, what it is to be a Knick, and coming into his second year. I'm excited to see what Jalen Brunson is going to look like without having to handle the ball and create so much, play off the ball a little bit more, and just continue to mature and take his game to another level. I'm excited to see what the starting lineup is going to be. Are we going to go double bigs? Are we going to go deuce in the backcourt? I've even seen some people talk about Yabusele playing the 4. I don't know. We'll see. But it's going to be an interesting season for the Knicks. I can't wait for it to get started. Please, 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 please. Just let's get through camp. No injuries. Go to Abu Dhabi. Whip up on the Sixers. One of my least favorite teams in the NBA. What's up with Joel Embiid? Is he going to be ready to play? This is bothering me. Sorry. But yeah, what's up with Embiid? Is he going to be able to play? I don't think so. I think he's out for who knows with that guy. And then, yeah, the Sixers, I don't know. Maxey, I don't know exactly what his deal is, but I I know that in the Eastern Conference, you got the Cavs and you got the Knicks. And I know that when you want to talk about deepest rosters in the NBA, you got the Thunder and you got the Knicks. So it's going to be an interesting season. Interesting season for sure. And with big expectations, you know, I'm a Knicks, Mets, and Jets fan. That doesn't usually go so well for us. But I got faith, man. This Knicks regime with Leon Rose at the top, Tibbs laid the foundation. It was time for us to level up. Mike Brown, it's your time, man. It's your time, Mike Brown. It's your time to get to the promised land, and it's your time to go ahead and lead this New York Knicks team. Jalen Brunson, he is our Lord and Savior as Knicks fans. And I just can't wait to see how this basketball season plays out. I already feel like the Jets season is going to be a long and a tough one. And this Mets season has been a roller coaster, and we just nosedived, and hopefully we're picking ourselves back up, and who knows where that can go. But, hey man, sports is fun. It's the ultimate reality show, as my pops likes to say. And it'll always be fun, and I'll always be here to chop it up with y'all and tell you how I feel. Definitely replay gang. Get in the comments. Tell me how you feel. Come at me, man. If you disagree with me, if you think I'm being a fool, come for me. I promise you I will reply. I do not promise to be nice. I probably won't be nice, but we'll have some fun. Yo, it's your boy N.I.C. Peace.